And we are supposed to be live, and hopefully the recording is actually recording correctly. Let's go make sure we're live before we, talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Okay, my computer's muted, thank goodness. All right, looks like, make sure we're live on YouTube as well. Whee! And we're live, all right. Well, hello everybody, welcome to WordCast number 45. We're getting close to a year's worth of podcast, and by that I mean weekly, not daily, unfortunately, right? But hello everybody, happy new year. I hope you guys all had a great holiday season and everything. We've got a seriously hefty amount to talk about to you guys today.
Hefty.
Not a sponsor. So yeah, no, we've got just an absolute ton of stuff, but I wanted to go ahead and actually kick this off with some talks about why is our live stream... Okay, it's still working. Okay.
Yeah, I have it literally up.
All right, so I thought it had played it, then it was loading the app. Oh. Anyway, a lot of talk about the future of the business here and what I'm doing personally with some of my stuff. And then we're going to be talking about Meltdown Inspector, those big vulnerabilities that just happened. Another CPU manufacturer. That one is not the first topic, which is surprising, meaning Meltdown Inspector are actually more important, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So,
CES!
Yeah. And at the end of the video, I'm going to redirect everybody to go back to the beginning that maybe has dropped in the middle to be like, you want to hear the stuff that we're about to talk about. But, first, do you have anything else you want to go over? Or are you good?
I'm good for now.
You're good for now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I probably shouldn't leave that vibration motor on.
Or just not leave it on the table.
No, I'll just there. That's good to go. We're good to go. Oh, and we've got the mic, which we know is kind of like in the center of everything. That's just the way we have it set up right now. I'm probably going to get a really big boom at some point to like come off from the side and go above us, but I just don't have that right now. I have this.
You could also push this back more so that the mic is just lower.
I mean...
Have it more like Linus's, kind of?
Technically...
Yeah.
But it's in the way right now, so I'm going to leave it like that.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. All right, so again, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, everybody that has joined in and is watching right now. So I'm going to start off with some updates and future plans that we have for WordTech as a business, as well as the channel and everything, just the company as a whole, which those of you that are maybe watching that don't know, we actually have a website and do work on that now. So that's the first thing I actually wanted to talk about is there's consistent articles on the website now. Thankfully, it's about time, I know. Both him and I, and as well as others really soon, will be writing articles on the website. So pretty consistently, I'm trying to do at least 1 or 2 daily is the goal, except on weekends. And he's been doing some. There's going to be a lot of news on there during CES. That's something that we're going to be focusing on really heavily, obviously, both on the site and in this podcast later today. So stay tuned for that.
And next week.
And probably the week after that. But yeah, so again, website's fully active, so I would definitely say, guys, go check it out. I finally got that monetized. Don't worry, there's only 3 ads on the website. They don't interrupt your content, so I haven't monetized. I do get a kickback from that, and I appreciate everybody that goes to it and reads articles on there, but I don't want it to be obtrusive in any way. I want people to be able to just read at will, do whatever they want. I also have plans to keep the forums more updated with information and try and get some more people more active on the forums that we have on the website. Those are both linked in the description, both the website and the forum specific for the website. Videos from here on out, starting this Friday, Monday at the latest, but it should be this Friday, will be consistent. From here on out, we're going to be doing prep work ahead of time and having some like filler videos, as in things that aren't quite as time sensitive as other stuff, kind of ready to go in case I get sick or something like that, right? So the plan is to have 3 consistent videos a week. You've got your Monday and your Friday video, and you've got WordCast on Wednesday nights. That is the plan for the foreseeable future. I do not want to miss that at all, not once this year is the goal.
Yeah.
Starting with either Friday or Monday is when the start of that will be from Wednesday here, the 3rd of filming this. That's when I want the start of that to be, if nothing changes from there. Like, that's the goal, and I hope I meet that. I think I can meet that. You might be doing some videos periodically this year. That'd be super cool to see him doing some stuff, so I wanted to mention to people, be on the lookout for videos from him. He'd be the 3rd person doing videos on the site. Another thing about the website is potentially soon, I haven't set this up yet, but there will be live streams that will be embedded in the website for gaming from various people, including myself, Calvin, who's been on the show before, probably you.
Yeah,
just Twitch streams.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be streaming some Fortnite Battle Royale. I've been really enjoying that game. I finally got my first win, so I'm motivated to keep getting more. Yeah.
It's exciting. It's a good game, and I'm probably going to play it with you too. Yeah. So maybe we can do some collab streams and stuff like that.
We can just integrate both of them into one site too.
We could, yeah, exactly. We could actually have a specific one that we just
people would just
go
have
live
audio
for that.
On one of them.
Yeah. All right. So wanted to mention that to everybody, so that keep on the lookout for that if you're interested in seeing us actually do streams of games. Now there will also be written reviews on the site of hopefully the majority of the stuff that we actually do video reviews on. Hopefully the video review or the written reviews will probably actually be out before the video reviews, because it helps us format the video reviews more easily without having to write scripts separately. But I want to have written reviews with more detail on there as well, because we don't want videos being 30 minutes long if we can help it, if it's not completely necessary. And then also there'll be data dumps on the website, so to speak, or data logs, whatever you want to call them, basically. When I'm doing reviews of products, if I don't do a written review of it, or I'm doing like benchmarking and don't do that like written in a specific post, there will at least be a link to the website with that'll have links directly to the policies that we use for benchmarking, as well as all the data that we're using for a specific product in graph format, so you guys can just see everything presented in front of you. So you can go just look through all the raw data, nothing cherry picked by us, just here's the data that we have. And I'm going to be keeping... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and like we were talking about, there's going to be, preferably when we do reviews, especially for when we do like, if we try and do like more cinematic, shorter reviews, we'll still have all of the same in-depth content that you'll find in something like a lot of his like 20-minute reviews.
Yeah.
But in written form, so you can still get that information. But just that way, change things up. Not always doing super long reviews, but not also not always doing short videos.
Yes, and so that's something like I want a good like broad mix of content on the site and on the channel, and the goal is to be reaching out to pretty much as many avenues as possible, just so that whatever ends up making revenue can help support the other areas, whatever takes off first, whether it's videos, whether it's the website, whether it's the Twitch streaming or the podcast, whatever it ends up being, will hopefully help push everything else into being a tech media source overall, and a gaming media source overall. So I've got a lot of plans for 2018. In fact, 2018 is honestly, it marks the year for me to push as hard as I can, and hopefully get some other people on board to push, like you already are, of course, but to make this full-time employment, at least for me and maybe for multiple people. The goal this year, though, is to make enough money where I'm making money to live off of this, and am able to pay people that help out, like Daniel and Calvin, that are working. So hopefully we can push for that this year. So that's pretty much it for the site. I just wanted people to know that, anybody that watches the site consistently. So yeah, and then also know we are not dumping SQL databases on our site. Sorry. And then Arcade Animal is saying 2018 is Magic Leap's year.
Yes.
Yes, it very likely is. We talked about that in the prior podcast to this, so you should totally go check that out if you want more information.
And something we were going to talk about
You'll probably
be
writing an article on that too.
Yeah, something we were going to be talking about when we get to CES stuff is augmented reality. So
yes, which is exciting. Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of, I think, interesting stuff coming up this year, both in the world of PC and the world of AR and VR and general tech and everything. I think this is gonna be a really, really, really big year, especially considering what has already kind of come out. Gives me a hint of the fact that companies don't release big products before CES generally. So the fact that we've seen some big products probably tells you just how big the products at CES really are likely to be. So that's really exciting for me as well. So a few quick personal updates for those of you that follow the channel closely and know what I've been doing with Project Monochrome and everything. So the first thing I actually want to say is my plan is to have better time management and less procrastination, because I do sometimes have trouble with procrastinating. And so I'm working really hard on that to just get more done for the business, and that's why this year kind of marks the push. Like last year was like a setup year, you know, and this year hopefully marks the push for, like, you know, I have everything I need now to start benchmarking, doing more consistent videos, editing, all that stuff. Like, most of my tools are just ready to go.
Yeah.
Project Monochrome is well underway. I want you guys that follow the channel to know what exactly is happening with that. So I'm a few weeks away from a huge storage upgrade. I'm going to be buying 5 SSDs for that, 3 of which will be NVMe-based 960 EVOs. So that'll help with editing for sure, and I'll be doing a video on that, and probably some benchmarks and whatnot on all that stuff. Then I'm going to be upgrading to 128 gigs of RAM on that system. Then the aesthetics come, and then finally GPUs probably sometime around Computex, because I want to wait for the highest end possible stuff to come out, both from AMD and NVIDIA, before I upgrade to a higher end GPU. And then the other thing is I'm going to be doing a video on FreeNAS. I'm going to be building a massive FreeNAS storage server. I decided to go back to doing that because my Linux server completely failed on me. Again, those that follow this closely and watch the podcast already know that I had some power loss issues, won't get into why, and lost all of my data from prior videos, which really sucks, but it's going to be okay. So I'm going to be building a FreeNAS for the future instead, with a UPS and all that kind of stuff, you know, uninterruptible power supply. So I'll be doing a video on the build of that, probably not so much on the setup of FreeNAS itself, although if you guys want to see that, let me know. And then I also have plans to upgrade my setup overall with better cable management. You know, I do cable management videos all the time. And future plans for 3 or maybe 4 monitors, one of those being a 1440p HDR ultra-wide. So big stuff coming for you guys. Also, don't forget, on the website and on the channel, there will be quarterly high-end headphone reviews, because I buy 4 pairs of high-end headphones every year, because that's my collection. Okay, that is what I collect.
That's your collection.
That's my collection. That is what I collect. I collect high-end headphones, and I like to review them, and they all have their different sound signature. I like to listen to them. Blah blah blah. I don't collect computer parts, even though that's probably something I'd say I'm more passionate about. I use computer parts and want the higher end stuff, and I don't need the older stuff. I collect headphones because they're like a form of art for me. So, okay, so now we're gonna get into the big news story. Hopefully, some more people have jumped on that follow us more consistently.
And this is a big one.
Yeah. Also, Dawson the Hick says the 960 EVOs are great. He's got one for his rig this year. Yeah, I'm pretty excited for mine. I'm getting a 500 gig for boot, a 500 gig for my media cache for Premiere Pro, and a 1 terabyte for my actual media files for Premiere Pro for editing the 4K video. So pretty excited for that. Okay, so I'll let you start about Meltdown.
I was gonna let you start.
You were gonna let me start? Oh, do I have to start? Okay, so literally everything is broken. When I say literally everything, I mean literally everything. So I'm not using the term literally, figuratively, even though that's actually factually correct now. So yeah, everything in the last 20 years, as far as we know, is affected chip-wise, CPU-wise, ARM-based chips, x86-based chips, which means everything from AMD and everything from Intel. So pretty much if you own a device, meaning whatever you're watching on right now is vulnerable to this, to Spectre.
Yeah, so there's 2 different vulnerabilities that news has come out about. There's Meltdown and Spectre.
Yes.
Spectre affects everything.
Literally everything.
Meltdown affects Intel only.
Yes. Now, we'll get to the details on all of that, especially Spectre, in a moment, but I want to talk about Meltdown first. Meltdowns that I have first in the article. This is what was first talked about, and people were freaking out about this, and also people were being like, oh, Intel, oh, Intel, oh, Intel sucks. And, well, yeah, they do. The Meltdown is actually not quite as bad as Spectre in a lot of ways, and again, I'll get to Spectre in a moment. So Meltdown only affects Intel CPUs. As far as we know, basically every Intel CPU ever made in the last 20 years. And it's effectively a flaw in the way that the CPU actually fundamentally functions. I don't want to get into detail of how that exactly works, but basically it allows other programs to access isolated areas of memory and of the kernel, areas that belong to other applications that aren't supposed to be accessible by anything else, period. And so what it's doing is what the Meltdown vulnerability allows is a potential malicious application or some attacker or whatever. And I want you to talk about what Firefox discovered, by the way, after I talk about both of these. Basically, they are able to pull pretty much any important data off your computer that they'd like to. They can pull things out of password managers. They can pull data, all kinds of... And keep a grain of salt with this, actually. I do want to mention that before I freak people out a little too much, is don't forget that this just came out, and there's a lot of detail about it, but sometimes things are worse than they seem, sometimes things are better than they seem. There will be more data coming out on this over time, but it has been getting researched for a while, and has been known about for a while. It's just that the public knows about it today.
Yeah.
And that's the important part, is that this information is being released not as a 0-day vulnerability, but as something that's been around for a while. So people have actually done full studies on this, including Google.
Yeah, so Google was actually the ones that found these, and they had reported it apparently to Intel as far back as June. Now, all of the companies, so Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, the people that make, the people that deal with Linux, the main people that deal with Linux, I should say, Intel, ARM, AMD, they have presumably NVIDIA, because NVIDIA makes ARM-based chips.
Yeah, so any NVIDIA ARM-based chips. So obviously not their GPUs, but it would affect their phones.
Yeah, they've all and the Switch.
And the Switch.
They've all essentially had a group non-disclosure agreement going on to essentially make it so anyone working on this couldn't publicly talk about it, because they knew this was going to be a very difficult fix.
Right.
Something that was going to take time, not even to just do right, but to just do anything about
period.
it all.
Yeah.
And because of that, because of how complicated this is, they had to do everything they could to keep it a secret. Normally, when there is an exploit found by an organization or a group that's looking into these types of bugs, they will give companies, generally it's like 100 days to do something about.
Sometimes it's less, depending on how bad. They actually usually shorten it when it's worse. It's like, oh, you have 30 days, by the way, or I'm telling people.
Yeah.
But,
because they essentially want to force companies to actually do something about it.
Yeah. And
it's 30 days is generally when it's already in the wild.
Yeah.
If it's already in use. If it's not, then they'll keep it secret longer to give them time to just do it. But this has been known about since at least June. It's just been kept under NDA. Now, with Linux starting to implement patches for it, people were bound to find out.
Right, yeah.
And that made people look into it more.
I mean, it's the same reason we talked about previously. Like, Linux updates are a really good source for leaks of security vulnerabilities, new hardware, stuff like that. Because Linux gets patched really fast.
Yes. And so, as this started to come out, journalists started to look into it more and more and more, and eventually there was enough information out and a lot of information that was not 100% accurate, but partially correct, that it got to the point where Intel had to respond, which made AMD respond, which meant everyone was responding. So Google posted their blog post. For anyone that wants to get into the technical details of it, if they want to read more about it, just go to meltdownattack.com. That's the site that's pretty much got all of the official info. It's got papers on it. It's got details about what's affected, what's not.
Exactly.
Because there are exploits in this that are something that can be malicious. There are some that can't be. There's just a whole bunch with it, so it's a very big and complicated thing.
So I'm actually going to go ahead and link an article as well in the chat if you're interested in really detailed information. TechCrunch did a huge article on this. That's where I got most of my info, so it goes to them. So I wanted to go ahead and link that here so that you guys can go read that if you're interested in all of the nitpicky details of exactly how it is. Or you can get even more by reading a white paper from like Meltdown Attack or Google's actual research white paper. So it's pretty bad, though. Basically, everything is broken, and so everything Intel based, that is, with Meltdown in specific, and it's not good. Now, there were some rumors going around before we get too much into Spectre. There was some information going around about Meltdown and what Intel was doing, and more so Microsoft and Linux, what they were doing, what Windows and Linux were doing, and Apple was doing with Mac OS X to solve the problem. People were really concerned about slowdowns. There still are slowdowns, and there's still concern there, but you probably won't notice it.
Correct.
On most things. If you're a video editor on your computer, you might.
Yeah.
You might. So this was computerbase.de did a whole bunch of testing on this to actually see, like, after the patches were implemented with various applications, what was the performance slowdown. And just to give it a quick sum up, basically, the majority of stuff was nearly the same, maybe like a couple percent
Yeah, it was
lower.
1 to 2% on average difference. Essentially, it was within margin of error.
Right, and it's like, maybe, like, if you look through the data yourself, you'll probably get the impression of there's a general slowdown, but it's like 1%.
Yeah.
That's not enough to really even notice as like a normal human being. Like you're not going to spend extra money to get 1%. 1% performance.
It's going from 100 FPS to 99.
Right, exactly. It's like it does not matter. So that's important for most people to know, but storage is one of the areas that was actually potentially more affected by this. So they were seeing drops of
4 to 7%, depending on the test.
Yeah, 4 to 7%, which can be significant if you're doing things like video editing, or I mean, that's probably the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Really, because I mean, I can't think of some much else that's done on a desktop or even workstation environment that requires massive data transfer very quickly. I mean, video editing, scrubbing a timeline, that's it right there. So that's really, gonna be you probably won't notice.
Yeah.
I will probably notice a little bit, but maybe not.
I mean, you'll get new SSDs, and then you won't notice
because I'm already such a huge performance
and you won't
jump.
have had them without
it. Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be so much better than what I have right now. It's like, I mean, because I'm running a 1950X. For those that watch the channel and don't know, it's a 16-core processor, total monster. But my SSDs, I only have two 120 gigs in there right now, so I can't do the majority editing off SSDs because I edit in Cineform, so most of my projects are taking up like 200, 300 gigabytes to actually the editing project itself. I don't store the whole Cineform format project, but so it's really hard to edit right now until I get better SSDs and more RAM because I'm only running 32 gigs.
Yes. Also, what I wanted to mention is that, and this is from just a couple of hours ago, Linux's mainline Git has now pulled essentially the change within Linux for dealing with this bug that slows the performance down specifically for AMD CPUs. So you can update Linux and it will not impact performance anymore.
Right. So
previously, if you did the update, it did the update anyway, no matter the processor.
Yes.
They've now excluded AMD, stating, in quotes, if AMD is so confident they are not affected, then we should not burden users with the overhead.
And the other thing to keep in mind is Meltdown is the one that doesn't affect AMD. There isn't a fix that's put out for Spectre yet.
Correct.
So it makes sense to not apply Meltdown to AMD or ARM-based systems for that matter.
The reason that initially the update was affecting AMD was that they just didn't get the request for the exclusion in time for the patch.
Yeah, because they just wanted to,
it was one of those things where it's like, for one, we need to fix it. Two, people started figuring out about it. We need to fix it now.
Plus, what if AMD we found out that they were affected by it? It'd be bad. Now we know they aren't affected by Meltdown. So Meltdown's pretty bad. I actually like how the name Meltdown sounds so much worse than Spectre, but Spectre's the worst one. Okay.
Now, for reference, though, when we say Spectre is the worst one, it's harder to fix, but it's also harder to exploit.
Yes.
And that's a big deal. It means that there's going to be less.
It's a pretty good amount harder to exploit, too. But it's worse in terms of not what it can grab. Because if you're thinking about it in perspective of the vulnerability, Meltdown's technically worse.
Yes.
You're allowing applications, malicious software, to actually grab from portions of the kernel and portions of memory that it's not supposed to grab from. That's technically speaking worse than Spectre. Spectre's worse in terms of the scope of what it affects. So, again, literally everything affected by this. ARM, AMD, and Intel. As far as we know, there's two ways to exploit the Spectre vulnerability. AMD says one is very unlikely to happen on their chips.
Yes.
But the other one, which we haven't really figured out much identifying information about the differences between the two, but the other one, which both affect everything, is totally possible on AMD chips and has been proven and actually done.
Now, AMD is claiming that they now have it fixed, but what I find odd about that claim is that we have researchers having said yesterday, and keep in mind the researchers who know about this and who are under the NDA have been working with AMD and Intel and all these companies.
At least we'd assume they have been.
Yeah. Well, if they're under the NDA, they'd have to be.
But it depends if they were under an NDA from multiple companies or not. Like, if it was just an NDA from Intel, they might just have been working with Intel.
I have a feeling it's a shared NDA about the bug.
Because it could be, but
if you're doing research into the problem,
yes,
you're not going to only research Intel.
Right, and that's true. But the original bug that was found was Meltdown. Only affected Intel.
But keep in mind though that there are different people who reported the different bugs. So Jan Horn from Google was the one that was on both groups, but there are people who reported Meltdown and who worked on Meltdown from different groups. And so Spectre has much more people working on it.
Okay.
And so it's very unlikely that those people who did not work on Meltdown weren't. From my understanding about the NDA is it was a shared NDA.
Okay.
Because if you're looking into this, you're going to look into it on everything. Even if Intel hires you, you're going to run it on other stuff so that you can see if it's affected, how it's different, if it's different than what you can do.
And Intel would want to know that anyway. They'd want to know if somebody was worse than them in that case, because that's a marketing advantage. So.
Yeah, but even beyond marketing advantage, if you're solely looking at fixing it, looking at every chip
possible,
so you can see what's different, and if something's different, then you can see why it's different and try and figure out how to use that to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
So this is just a big, widespread thing. So personally, what I find odd is that we have these researchers having said earlier today that there was no software fix, that this was going to require a hardware redesign.
Yeah.
And that the only thing software-wise that we could do was try and limit the scope of it and try and mitigate certain aspects of taking advantage of one of the two exploits.
Yeah.
But that there was no actual fix as of yet, and there likely wasn't one, and even if we had software that we thought fixed it, we really couldn't know, based off of how they can test it, yet if they could actually deal with everything.
That's true. And AMD's claiming they fixed both, or all three variants?
No, AMD's claiming that they fixed the one that would actually impact them, not just, probably fixed it, but, resolved.
So there's 3 variants.
So
and only one variant.
The 3 is Meltdown. These two are Spectre.
Yeah, Rogue Data Collection. Okay,
yes.
And then Branch Target Injection and Bounds Check Bypass. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're saying differences in their architecture. There's near zero risk of explanation for the branch target. I bet you. So when they say near zero, I bet you it doesn't affect Zen architecture systems.
No, near zero means that they haven't seen it work yet, but they don't know it doesn't work. That's literally vulnerability to variant 2 has not been demonstrated to date, but they're not saying it doesn't affect them, despite the fact that they know for a fact that Meltdown does not affect them. So that means that they're
So they're really not sure.
Yes.
They're basically we don't think so.
They're we've tested this with what we know, but the problem is with this type of problem and this type of architectural design flaw is that there's multiple ways to go about the same type of attack. And so they're just going off of what they know now, but they know that there's more that could be done to take advantage of this.
Right. Okay, I'm wondering though, are you sure that variant 3 is the Meltdown?
Yes.
Okay, how do you confirm?
Because the source that I got from this stated it, and also they're talking about vulnerability. They don't mention the separates. They don't mention Meltdown or Spectre by name in this.
Okay. And then the top one they're saying resolved by soft, because that's what I'm confused is they're saying so they're saying that the variant 1 of these vulnerabilities that are out there it was resolved by OS updates and software updates that the vendors will be pushing out with minimal performance impact, which makes me wonder if that is the
the same patch that is fixing Meltdown is also going to include this. They're saying negligible performance impact because they're not expecting a performance impact.
Okay. I understand now. Okay. So what they're basically telling us is no, maybe no.
Yeah, but again, it's just I'm gonna say
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. When it comes to the claim that they have resolved it by software, as of right now, you really can't say yes or no. Right. I'm gonna wait till I see actual security researchers say something. Not because I don't trust AMD. I know that if they wouldn't be saying this unless they thought they had it fixed.
Yeah.
But with how concerned security researchers and the whole tech industry is about this, and with the fact that we have people that have been working on this for months saying that there isn't a fix, I find it odd that they magically have a fix.
Yeah, I would say I find it odd too, but I hope it's right.
Yeah.
I hope that
if
it's
anything,
true.
they're doing something similar to, and I'll talk about this in a second, some stuff that Mozilla's doing for their web-based fix.
Could be.
That mitigate it and make it so much harder than the already difficult process it is that they don't think anyone will do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't know. If it just because it makes it so much harder that nobody will do it. Like, the concern I have is if it's still possible, somebody wants something bad enough, they will do it.
Yeah.
Also,
but maybe they can give themselves extra time.
That's true. Extra time to figure out what's going on. Yeah. Also, just because it was in chat, I wanted to mention Arcade Animal says he's under NDA for Magic Leap. That's interesting.
Damn.
Cool.
I wish I was under NDA for Magic Leap.
I wish I was under NDA. Also, Justin likes your sweater.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah. Probably thinks you look cute in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but Spectre is so basically what we've gone over here is, I don't think we actually went over how it functions, how it's bad.
I mean, we only know, you should explain the details of what we know about it, but the ultimate thing is we don't know a lot.
Well, yeah, but I mean how it, what it's exploiting.
Yes.
Or more so what it does after because of the exploit. Yeah. So rather than pulling things directly from the kernel or directly from the memory, this Spectre is actually, it tricks other applications that have access to those areas into handing that information over to an attacker or some kind of malicious software. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially a slightly more roundabout, harder way to do the same thing that Meltdown was doing, of pulling information from parts of the kernel and parts of memory that shouldn't be possible to pull from.
Yeah.
So it's basically just as bad, just there's an extra step involved, so to speak, which makes it harder to exploit. That's why we were talking about it being the hardest one to exploit. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's about our 30-minute segment on
Yeah, so I was going to talk about what Mozilla
detailed. Please mention what Mozilla is doing.
So Mozilla came out and essentially stated that these attacks ultimately are timing related, from what we know. Essentially the timing of the CPUs related.
Yeah.
And their internal experiments confirm that it is possible to use similar techniques from web content, meaning from a website.
Meaning
probably
this could be implemented
specifically
via
JavaScript.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that they're talking about blocking
I hate JavaScript.
The stuff that they're talking about blocking is actual JavaScript.
Okay.
So they have found that this stuff allows them to do this exploit from a web browser, from a website.
Which is so bad. You go to a malicious site and, literally
and
your computer is just open to them.
We've already seen how bad sites can be when it comes to things like, crypto mining without telling people.
Yeah, it's
with ads that pull user
information. It can pull your
usernames
usernames and potentially passwords. Yeah, we talked about that last podcast.
So specifically in all release channels, starting with release 57 of Firefox, they are altering and reducing some of the timing performance, and then they are disabling the shared array buffer feature. So if you don't do web development, you probably won't know what those are, but ultimately they're making some changes that ultimately disable content that is actually important for capabilities of web platforms in order to even make sure it's safe.
Yeah, so it's bad.
They are working on longer-term proper fixes that will stop this without having to keep those disabled, and they're reaching out to presumably Google and Microsoft on dealing with this for Chrome. We know that Chrome has an alternate fix, it seems like, within Chrome. You currently have to enable it in the flags. It's not something that's enabled by default.
Is it a flag that's a little check mark that says fix Spectre?
No.
Oh.
No. It's talking about table addresses and blah, blah, blah.
Right,
it's a complicated thing. Realistically, because there's a reason it's not in the public channel, you should probably just wait.
Now, you did say, though, that wasn't there a update pushed out to Chrome OS?
It's yes.
So Chrome OS, assuming that you have turned on your Chrome OS machine within the last 2 weeks,
yes,
you're supposedly safe from this, right?
If you have a newer Chromebook. If your Chromebook
if you have a Chromebook that's still getting updated.
If your Chromebook is considered end of life, then you will not get an update for this.
Yes.
So,
but realistically, my thought on that is it's probably a lower priority on Google's list compared to servers and stuff, because like, what important data are you keeping locally stored on your Chromebook?
Yes.
Hopefully not much.
Yeah.
Hopefully not much.
But keep in
maybe
mind,
passwords.
Chromebooks can run Android apps now.
That's true. Yeah, which is still...
And Android is affected, but if you're on
But older Chromebooks can't. The ones that haven't been updated.
Correct.
So that's probably where that priority changes. And one last thing I wanted to mention about Meltdown that I think I forgot when I was talking about you won't notice a performance drop. Servers will.
Yes.
I don't think I mentioned that. So there are certain server applications and server scenarios using certain instructions on CPUs that will, from the Meltdown patch, likely see huge performance hits up to 30%, which... I guess in a way is better for us as consumers because now the big companies, generally big companies that have the money to pay for potentially more hardware because everything's slowed down, can afford to pay for that versus somebody like us. It's like, oh, I went from getting 60 frames in this game to getting, 45 frames in this game. You'd be pretty mad and you might not have the money to shell out for that. It could potentially hurt smaller businesses that are using servers that need to update, that are maybe using servers actually extensively, like performance-wise. If you run like a web server or something, you probably don't have too much to worry about because you're probably not pushing it to 100% or even 70% like ever. So.
Yeah. Some other things I want to mention, actually, this is a new update from NVIDIA from earlier today.
Cool.
So, obviously, GPUs are not affected as this is a CPU issue.
Yes.
However, they do say that they are updating their GPU drivers to, in some way, help mitigate the CPU security issue.
Interesting.
And then also they are working on, with their ARM CPUs, they said that they have determined which are affected and are preparing appropriate mitigations, but they haven't actually stated which CPUs are affected. All, presumably.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So they're working on updates for that, but I'm interested to hear. Obviously, we won't hear more about it because they don't want people finding an exploit in it.
Yes.
But hearing more about the GPU drivers to help mitigate the CPU security issue.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, because we know that it's timing related, if they can do something to...
I don't know. That seems really hard.
I don't know enough about how that works.
Because if it's just a driver, it's not software. So it's not like they're doing anything else. They're just working with the GPU.
Yeah, and keep in mind...
I wonder if it's something to do with the way the GPU does draw calls on the CPUs, potentially affecting like the CPU's timings or something?
I don't know. It says help mitigate. So my assumption, based off of what we know about how many different fixes are coming, is we're going to see a whole bunch of...
help.
A whole bunch of Band-Aids covering the issue until they can get a real surgeon in to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay, because the more you have, the better.
Yeah.
And even, like, say if this defense here makes it so that, say only 1 out of every 10 attempts at this exploit actually gets through, for example, like say it's, I don't know details of how, I'm not an actual engineer or an electrical engineer and an architect, but say for example it made it so that it was kind of like deflecting things periodically, so like you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting that through, otherwise you've got to try again.
Yeah.
That could potentially push an attacker away or just make it take longer. And that is enough. Like, you do that enough times and it starts to make it really hard. So the amount of companies and engineers and just overall really intelligent people that are working on this issue, I think we need to not be as worried about it as we maybe are. Because literally every intelligent mind in the tech space period right now is probably focused on this specifically.
Yes.
Hey, you know anything about anything related to this, help us.
Yeah.
Because it's that big of a vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that we figure something out really quickly about.
Because think about it, like, everyone has servers.
Yeah. Literally, like, every tech device is affected by this.
Yes.
So every tech person needs to be working on fixing this. Every engineer.
When you look at, like, NVIDIA, who has been working more and more on AI, that means a lot of data.
Yes.
That means a lot of data. Obviously, that like most of their data is not going to be like user data, but that's still a lot of data that they probably don't want.
Yeah, they don't want that sipping out to competitors. Yeah.
They like everyone's working on this because everyone has a reason to protect against it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this will probably be something that we won't have to worry about too extensively.
Yeah, unless you're the CEO of Intel, who's now potentially going to get in trouble because Intel knew about the vulnerability when the CEO
Meltdown in specific.
$24 million in stock.
Yeah, so insider trading, yay.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, well, there's our, 40-minute segment on that. But now we're going to have another pretty long segment and then probably have to kind of rapid-fire the rest. So this is a big deal. So as you notice in the title, a third CPU manufacturer. When I read this, when I first read the title, when I read the article, I almost didn't believe this. It is exactly as it sounds. No, it's not somebody's making something for servers or ARM or IBM's doing something cool or what. No, there is literally a third CPU manufacturer for desktops and probably at some point mobile to compete with Intel and AMD. This is not a rumor. This is confirmed, and that is one of the big things here. So Guru 3D is the one that I read the article from, but it's a company, it's spelled VIA. I'm just going to call them VIA. I don't know if it's pronounced different or if it's actually an acronym and is supposed to be VIA. I'm really not sure, so I'm just pronouncing it VIA. So it might be like AMD. It might be VIA. I apologize. They used to manufacture x86-based CPUs, so they actually already have licenses for all this stuff, which is amazing. Meaning they're like, this is happening, guys. So they used to manufacture CPUs. They got out of it for a while, but still did work in chipsets and stuff like that. And I don't know if they're getting back into this related to maybe Spectre and hey, we know a workaround, we're going to make chips that have a workaround, or if they're getting back into this just because they got funding, or because they felt like the market needed another player, or because they felt like AMD was giving Intel a good enough kick in the pants that it might give them a chance to launch something too, because right now with Intel, for a while with Intel being such a huge monopoly, you wanted to get in the CPU market, it sucks. You're not going to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind that these are going to be China focused.
At least at first, yeah, at least at first, and they're not incredibly powerful, but they're by no means weak either. They're not like your garbage CPUs.
And it seems like they're meant to be in smaller devices because these are systems on a chip. Now they're x86 systems on a chip.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they have talked about a desktop in specific. So it just means though maybe they're going to do something innovational here where they put more of the chipset, and by more of I mean the entire chipset, also on the CPU. So you can have smaller motherboards just with links to the CPU pins potentially. We don't really know what they could do with this, but again, they already have an x86 license, so they can do this. They are doing this, so I don't know how to pronounce it. Zhaojin is my guess of how you pronounce it. Zhaojin is the series of CPUs that they're launching. That is Zhaoxin. Zhaojin. I hope I'm saying that right. Now, the first one that's going to come out is the KX-5000. It's a 2 gigahertz. I know, pretty low there. Octa-core CPU. Now, my thoughts is IPC probably won't be far off from AMD. Albeit probably not as good, but won't be far off. And if they're using global foundries just like AMD is for actually manufacturing the chips...
TSMC.
They're using TSMC?
Yes.
And that's actually probably why they can't hit as high clock speeds then.
Yeah.
Because Global Foundries has focused more on the CPU area because AMD partners with Global Foundries, and so they've been able to hit higher clock speeds. And so it wouldn't surprise me, though, TSMC is mostly partnering with NVIDIA. It's a different kind of silicon, so they probably can't hit as high of clock speeds. But this is, as far as I know, TSMC's first time making full-on x86 CPUs, which is interesting. So this article's actually been updated since I read it.
I'm actually on a
Oh, you're on a... okay. I was wondering. You're on Tech Report. Okay. So 2 gigahertz octa-core CPU. No word on whether or not it's going to have SMT, simultaneous multi-threading. Be interesting if it does. I don't know. We'll see. And it's going to be running PCI Express 3.0. And it's also, I didn't get the actual information on what the actual manufacturing process node was. I'm guessing it is a 24 nanometer? 28 nanometer, but they have future plans for 16 nanometer process and 8 cores per die, which is a pretty significant core count. That means they're doing similarly potentially to what AMD is doing with up to 8 cores per die. Who knows if they're using CCXs in an Infinity Fabric-esque technology or not. They might be, but if they can do up to 8 cores per die like AMD is currently doing, I mean, they could build a 32 core system or chip just like AMD. Now, again, they're not going to be for gaming. I'm assuming when they first come out, it's going to be for productivity desktops and potentially the server market a little bit. We'll see. But, I mean, a low clock speed but very cheap octa-core CPU, I mean, that's going to be good for video editing. Yeah. Things that can take advantage of massive amounts of threads, that's going to be great for it. Because imagine if you can get an octa-core CPU for $100.
Yeah.
Right, and it's okay, you probably don't want to game with the thing. but you're doing video editing and stuff, it should chomp through that pretty well.
Realistically, this is the perfect type of chip to release in China.
That's true. Yeah, for various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of, like, this is, keep in mind also when I bring up China, this is a joint venture with the Chinese government, meaning that they're doing funding for it, presumably.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, think about it, like, content creation is getting big everywhere. While we might not see a lot of Chinese content creators on Twitch and YouTube.
It's still huge over there. Yeah.
They have their own sites for that type of thing.
They do. Yes.
And, I mean, you look at, like, I know that Linus does some uploading internationally, and that's why they hired Dennis.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they have him do a lot of that type of stuff.
Like translation for them, yeah.
And so content creation is big there. This is the perfect type of chip for that. And that's an easy way to build up a brand while the low performance of it won't hurt your reputation in the U.S. because it's not in the U.S.
Yeah, right.
U.S. reviewers, I mean, there might be a couple that, like, import them to mess with.
I'm sure there'll be probably a decent amount of European reviewers, too, that'll import them and review them. But it's not something like you're going to be using here. Mm-hmm. But it means competition in the desktop market is growing. Yes. And that's what we need, is we need more competitors. Mm-hmm. So now what we need is we need AMD to get their GPU gaming gear, and Intel to make good GPUs. We need NVIDIA to make CPUs, and we need VIA to make GPUs, so that we can have 4 vendors making all of them.
We need perfected ARM emulation code.
Yes.
Because
the more competition, the more innovation we see, and that's exactly what we want to see, is faster stuff. I want to see, I'd be sad, but I want to see next year Threadripper being an old, outdated, not very good CPU. Right? And it's like, I'll be sad. I bought one. But I would love if we had like 32-core 5 GHz CPUs in 2019, you know?
Yeah, good luck with that.
I mean, come on. How great would that be?
Maybe for $500 or $5,000 from Intel on December 31st, 2019.
We'll see. No,
with a motherboard,
just more competition is going to push.
With a chipset that only comes on $2,000 motherboards.
Right. Now, you know what this all made me think of, though? Something we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Sumco. Remember Sumco? They're the biggest silicon wafer manufacturer on the planet. Mm-hmm. This is what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like Intel's making GPUs. VIA's joining to make CPUs now. This is what they mean by a silicon shortage, which means prices could go up, and that would really suck. Or maybe recycling CPUs will be a big business. Hey, you give us your Pentium, we'll give you $100.
No. Dude, I would just be like going on Amazon and buying
I'd be like, I'm going to buy all the Pentiums. Yeah. No. Oh, man. So, yeah, third major CPU manufacturer, really excited for that. That's going to be super cool. More competition, the better, right? So another AMD topic here that I wanted to talk about. So a lot of people heard about AMD Adrenalin, the driver, breaking multiple DirectX 9 games.
Yes. It started with Command & Conquer 3,
reported with
and
Command
then
& Conquer.
4,
Yes.
and then...
all of them.
No, and then Witcher.
Well, all the Command & Conquers ended up being affected, though, right? I thought.
Oh, no, so it's Command & Conquer 3 with all of its DLC.
Oh, okay,
Command & Conquer 4 and a specific expansion.
Okay.
And then Witcher were the known ones initially.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And then that was when...
And then Skyrim started getting affected as well.
But, so what I was going to say is, after we knew about those 3, was when we started, was when there was a specific... Separate from us knowing about those, there was a thread for Command & Conquer in specific, and that's where they had asked, hey, I've noticed ever since this patch that we're having issues.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then that was when the report, in response to Command & Conquer in specific...
Yeah, AMD came out.
...was that because it's an old game, we aren't going to put effort to fixing it, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with people having known about that game, despite that thread being about one specific game, or people
they started investigating.
And people were like, "What the shit? Like, are you really not gonna fix games that
right?
You
which would not be cool. Yeah. I mean, like there is a level of understanding from a like programmer perspective and a software developer perspective.
Yeah.
But from a gamer perspective that doesn't understand those things is like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not cool. I hate you. Whereas, from a software developer standpoint, you might look at it and go, okay, well, I understand why they're doing that. Not saying it's okay, but understand, hey, they're doing that because you don't support old software. That's generally what you don't do, especially if it's not software that you're controlling directly. And so there needs to be some understanding and some disconnect, because I bet you a lot of the AMD software developers don't play that many games, on their freelance time. They develop for games. That might be it. A lot of them probably are they're nerds in the level like I am, where they get less entertainment maybe out of games and more out of like actually fiddling and developing stuff, right? Yeah. And so they might go home and they might continue to develop something, and they're not focusing on the fact that these games are broken, so they don't have the perspective of, if I were a gamer, and I am a gamer, I'd be pissed if an old game was broken.
Yeah.
Because of the company, not because of the old game having like some weird update. Now, AMD came out. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it really comes down to, for me, like, I shouldn't have, without like changing a full-on like brand new version of an operating system.
Yeah.
A game should never just stop working.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, I can agree with that.
My graphics card played this game fine, and then a optional but essentially not long-term optional update broke it.
I guess, though, from my standpoint, though, is, while I would say I agree with you, I would say that an OS update versus a driver update breaking things aren't that different.
But OSs generally are more... Now, obviously, with like Windows 10, maybe not. But a lot of times, OS updates are generally more significant. It wasn't until, XP that we started seeing, after post-XP that we started seeing all software just generally work with new updates.
That's true.
We used to be that when there was an OS update, apps had to be rebuilt.
That's true. Although...
That's standard practice for OSs. It's not standard practice for drivers.
Although, drivers have also been getting more robust. And more has been going into them, and they've been getting more significant update-wise.
When you're a company who is constantly mocked by gamers for having bad drivers, you probably should fix your drivers.
Well, especially because they just pulled out of that.
Yeah.
The last 2017 was the year of AMD Radeon Technologies Group being like, here's software that doesn't suck and driver optimization that doesn't suck. Yeah. So they really can't have this on their plate, and it's already done some damage, which isn't good.
When you have under 1% of the GPU market, well, not under 1%.
Yeah, no. The GPU market's like 22%.
When you have less than a quarter of a percent, not a percent.
Of a market. A quarter of a percent. Whoa, now we're getting into AMD server CPU market share, okay?
When you have less than a quarter of the market, sure, it might only be 1,500 Steam gamers playing Command & Conquer, so maybe, double that as a whole, 3,000.
Yeah,
You probably don't want to alienate 3,000 people.
No,
if it's just one game,
exactly.
Because then that's going to tell other gamers, they don't care if they break old games.
Right. And that's a problem because NVIDIA has a super long track record of being incredibly impressive with everything working driver-wise. Yeah. Now, what I will say
they have issues,
is
I think try and fix it.
Right, exactly. I think the feature set that has been coming with these big annual updates, starting back in 2016, but especially Adrenaline in 2017, the updates that Radeon Technologies Group has been putting out with feature-wise for the driver software package is more impressive than what NVIDIA has been doing.
Well, yeah, when you're starting from farther down, it's easier to make...
No, I mean more impressive directly comparing to them.
Yeah.
Like, more features and better functioning features in a lot of ways.
I know better functioning, but what more features do they have?
As an example, Radeon Chill. Have you heard about Radeon Chill? It actually so when there's less input to the system, like you're not moving your mouse, it actually lowers your FPS and lowers the GPU draw. Therefore,
so you mean it's making up for the higher power draw?
No, well that's the thing though. AMD's architecture, Vega has higher power draw. Polaris is really efficient. Vega's only inefficient because they're overclocking the crap out of it to try and compete with NVIDIA. Vega's really efficient power-wise on lower clocks.
But when we look at their current hardware.
Well, no, Radeon Chill came out before Vega was a thing.
Okay.
But that's an example of something they've been doing that's impressive, where it's like you can lower power consumption and lower temperatures.
Didn't the like for example the 580 and just like all those the Polaris cards are still draw more power than NVIDIA cards?
They drew more power than NVIDIA cards of equal performance, but not by very much.
Okay, so they still had to make up for something.
They were right,
because I can't imagine that chill saves a ton of performance because your computer already.
Well, I mean, we're talking like you can actually set the variant there, but I mean, we're talking going from like 150 FPS, and then all of a sudden you're not doing anything on your computer, dropping to like 30.
Okay, that's cool.
And that saves significant power and temperatures, cool. Right? So it's like those are little features like that. Doesn't
NVIDIA
cool.
do stuff like that in their Max-Q laptops? Why don't they bring that to desktop?
Yeah, their Max-Q laptops do a somewhat similar thing. Yeah. So it's.
Why don't they bring? Yeah, okay, that's just.
But it's a cool feature, right? And so it's things like that that like it's like Radeon Technologies Group. Their software division's amazing. Their hardware division.
They can make hardware. They just care about miners more than gamers.
Well, they care about right, and also the other issue that I see is they can't make a good high-end GPU because Vega, which we actually have another story coming up next here about Vega. Vega is a good architecture, and I don't like people going around saying Vega sucks, Vega sucks. Vega 64 and Vega 56 are kind of garbage, unless you can get 56 at MSRP. But Vega as an architecture is actually really good, and even Vega 56 and Vega 64 and the Vega Pro or whatever it's called, I can't remember for some reason, for the workstation stuff and like for servers, is actually really good in terms of compute, and compute performance per watt is actually pretty good.
That's always been AMD's thing.
And that's always been AMD's thing, and that's why the miners have oftentimes preferred them. That also makes them good for server markets that need heavy compute that isn't necessarily focused towards AI like NVIDIA has been focusing on so heavily, AI and deep learning.
Vega FE.
Yes, Vega, yeah, thank you, Vega FE. And so, Vega as an architecture, though, is actually good, and when you are lowering the clock speed significantly, you lower power consumption, and you get performance per watt that's more similar to something that NVIDIA is putting out. And I just think that's important for people to keep in mind, is if you take a graphics card from any vendor, and say you just overclock the crap out of it by doing like a shunt mod so that you're putting more power into the GPU or whatever you're doing, I mean, you know, it's like, oh, here's another 100 megahertz, and it's going from 250 watts to 320 watts. And here's another 100 megahertz, now it's 450 watts power consumption. You start to increase that by exponentially for the clock speeds that you're going up at, because you have to increase voltage to compensate and power to compensate those clock speeds. Vega is essentially just super overclocked for desktop in order to actually compete for gaming. And so that's something for people, I think, to keep in mind. Anyway, official statement from AMD and related to Adrenaline Breaking DX9, and this is from PC World. They share this is not true. We will for sure fix this bug with Sage Engine games in an upcoming hot fix. Let's see. And that's pretty much the gist of the rest of his statement, is basically just saying, we're going to fix this, and you better fix this, and it doesn't surprise me. Like, I assumed they were, especially when it became known that it was more than just Command & Conquer. It's like, okay, you better fix this now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, and even just Command & Conquer would have been enough to piss off the group of Radeon fanboys. Sorry if I offended anybody with that word.
You a couple years ago?
Hey. That was like 5 years ago, and...
Yes.
Kind of.
No, not kind of, yes.
It was kind of.
Yes.
Because
It was.
It was.
It was.
Okay. In the GPU market, they were a lot more competitive then, okay? Their CPUs were trash.
It doesn't make you not a fanboy.
Okay. Their CPUs were pretty bad, okay? And
You can justify...
Okay, you know what? I need to not try and defend myself here, because you can literally go back to the first WordCast and hear me being exactly like that. Yeah. Please don't go watch those WordCasts. They're bad.
Do it.
Or do it because views, I guess, right?
Everything's about the views now.
Right, exactly. Go look at me be garbage, guys. It'd be great. No,
I mean, hey, if we're going to have a potential Adpocalypse 3 because of a certain YouTuber who does certain untasteful things...
in certain forests.
Yeah. We need views.
Yeah. No, but I was a little bit of an AMD fanboy. I will admit that. And I will also go to say that the FX and Bulldozer series of CPUs weren't a terrible idea. It was executed horribly. Okay. All right.
Also, I was just going to say, I told you about this earlier. But they did confirm earlier today that they did find the cause of the bug, so they are working on a fix, but they actually know
what causes
the problem
it, so they
is
can
now.
fix it at
Yes.
that point then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so another AMD story, but it's actually an Intel story, but it's also an AMD story. So
Intel
Intel. So anyway, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this in one of our WordCasts. I don't think it was the last one. I think it was the one before that, about how Intel is actually going to be putting AMD GPUs alongside their CPUs in a like system on a chip sort of design. Not exactly SoC because there's still chipset on board and everything like that. But basically combining them into one chip for most likely mobile services, right? So... What's up?
I was going to say not mobile services.
Did I say mobile services?
Yeah.
I meant mobile systems.
Yeah.
I said mobile services.
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay. I don't even know what those are. So, Intel India...
T-Mobile?
accidentally leaked the i7-8809G. Please, OMG, change that name. I don't like saying that. 6700 sounds a lot better, or even 6790 if they came out with that. You know, just as an example, versus 8809G.
8800G.
Yeah. Why 8809G? Or you could do the long version. You could say 8809G.
Maybe the 9 is relevant to something Vega related that we don't know about. I don't know.
Or it could be somebody's being dumb. I don't know. Anyway, the 8809G is a new OG chip from Intel. I'm sorry. I had to, yeah, oh man. So anyway, so the original article that I read was from PC World, and it probably wasn't an accident to release it at the beginning of the year from Intel India. But it will be using Vega for the GPU on board next to these Intel CPUs, which is really interesting. People were thinking they were going to use Polaris because I think people had the assumption, because the general assumption across the whole like PC enthusiast market is Vega sucks. It's horribly power inefficient, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not understanding the way the architecture is built. And I hate you. No, 'cause I assumed that Vega would be used in this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, no, it's going to be Polaris. And I'm like, no, it's probably going to be Vega. Well, it's confirmed by Intel India. Vega's the chip being used. Potentially we'll see some Polaris stuff too, but I doubt it. They're probably only making like one variant of this, would be my assumption.
See, they've got to put all the Vega into everything other than gamers cards because they couldn't
it
let
sucks.
gamers get them.
Right. Well, because it also sucks for games at the high end, though. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to put it in the areas that it's useful for, like servers.
No, they're just putting the ones that they can't sell as Vega 56s into laptops so that they can make money, but the Vega 56s go to miners.
Well, no. You're wrong there. Because now we can go buy laptops to mine with. Okay, so
but only like a lot of people are going to do that.
Right, exactly. So it's using HBM2 as memory, as you would expect from Vega. That was confirmed, or not really confirmed, but leaked to the point that it was basically confirmed previously, was that this chip was going to use HBM2. People were like, well, Polaris can technically, with modification, function with HBM, so they thought it would still potentially be Polaris. No, it's Vega, and I don't think the extra effort to make Polaris function with HBM would have been worth it anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're using Vega in that sense, and that I felt like that pushed my prediction in that direction. It'll have a 100-watt TDP. And this is going to be for high-end laptops, likely gaming targeted. Potentially, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some thin and light gaming systems that are really impressive for how thin and light they are, that compete maybe really well with like Max-Q design stuff.
Give me a Razer Blade Pro with this. Or a Razer Blade Stealth.
Razer Blade Stealth. I was going to say the Pro already has desktop parts in it.
Yeah, Razer Blade Stealth with this.
Yeah, you know, if you could get something like that, either a Razer Blade Stealth with a really loud fan or a slightly larger machine, that's not super loud.
Razer Blade Stealth-ish.
I like it. Or you could call it like
Razer, pay me for that.
You could call it like the Razer knife, because it's not quite as good as a blade, or like the Razer chunk. Okay, so anyway, so probably gaming targeted, maybe some productivity targeting as well, because Vega is good for that. But interestingly enough, it looks like the iGPU, the integrated graphics on the Intel CPU, which are still present. It's not like they removed them specifically for this use. Yeah. The only reason the high-end Intel chips don't have that is because the high-end like Core i9 stuff is based on Xeon stuff, which is built to not have the iGPUs. Yeah. Whereas the Xeons that do have iGPUs are actually based on the desktop stuff, which is really kind of based on the mobile stuff. Thank you, Intel, for having a product lineup literally every year of like 150 products. 56 Xeons. Anyway.
Yeah, but you gotta have that Xeon scalable.
It's Xeon scalable. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Okay, so iGPU will be able to be, we think it's at least present, and as far as we understand, functional. So it should be able to do something kind of like NVIDIA used to do with their Optimus technology, where they could switch over to the integrated GPU to save power. I'm actually really mad that NVIDIA, in doing the awesome thing of saying all desktop chips everywhere, you just have one chip, there's no mobile variant of a chip, they don't have Optimus technology anymore.
It's because there was problems with Optimus, and they've been always, it seems like a lot of what NVIDIA has been doing recently has been trying to reduce friction on consumer end. They want, if you buy it with this expectation of something working,
and it doesn't work, you're pretty mad.
They're kind of going the route of Apple, of what Apple used to be, I'll say now, of it just works.
And that's okay. That's okay. I think it's a good approach in a lot of ways.
I feel like that's also why we saw, it kind of goes along with them removing 3- and 4-way SLI.
Right.
Those, while you could buy them, and if you actually knew what you were doing, you would know the cost benefit of that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things like system builders, who would just be like, get 4 graphics cards, give us money.
Yeah, right. They could screw people. Yeah. And that, so I can understand that approach, and I can appreciate that approach. I think that's really good for the general gaming market.
Yeah.
And I think tech enthusiasts, we might see a divide over the next couple of years where tech enthusiasts maybe start to approach more of an AMD route for things, whereas you're approaching more of an NVIDIA route for if you're just like, I'm a gamer. It just
depends on the actual performance.
Right, and it depends on the actual performance, and it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a workstation person, you might go to NVIDIA as well because you're working on game development and you're not technical in terms of the enthusiast market.
Because you're working on game development and you want to break DX9 games.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, back to the i7-8809G. Should we just call it the 88OG at this point? I mean,
just call it the 8809. There's no other 8809.
I don't know. Is there? Let's see.
Does
Intel Arc have it?
The i7s stop at 8700.
Oh, there is a Form 8809 from the IRS. Maybe that's what they named it after. Taxes.
File your 8809, guys.
Oh, boy. Okay, so, damn it. Yeah. Damn, Daniel. So, I just said that live. I'm sorry. So, anyway, the podcast is broken, guys. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. So the 100-watt TDP is a pretty high TDP in comparison to like the 45-watt TDP that we see for some Intel systems, but those leave 55 watts available for the GPU, so to speak, right? So, I mean, having these two together, 100-watt TDP is actually not that high. That's a pretty solid mark, and it makes you wonder if Vega's so power inefficient, how come 55 watts is enough for a good Vega chip?
Because this is both a mobile and a lower clock.
Low clocked, exactly. And the low clock speed is the really key thing of this is clocked down here, not here. So
yeah, it seems to me like Vega was like the ultimate 1050 Ti competitor.
Yeah, and they tried to throw it into against like the 1080s and stuff, and it's like that was just that it was like they made a good architecture and they pointed it to the wrong places. And now maybe they're putting it to the right places because Intel was like, we got the right place over here.
We're like, we'll use you for 1 or 2 years while we get our GPU.
While we get ours running. Although the thing is, AMD's still developing their APUs. So I'm actually really excited to see how this competes to their APUs. Now, their new APUs, we talked about those. Were they running Vega? I thought they were running Vega graphics.
They have some that are running Vega.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that you can actually purchase now is running Vega. Go ahead and check that out if you'd like. But anyway, I'm interested in seeing how this competes directly with AMD's APUs, especially for price, because you're putting an Intel CPU alongside it. But my curiosity is going to be, are you going to get similar performance out of an AMD APU? Potentially better battery life in comparison of doing high-end tasks, and the lower price being just a huge benefit there. Potentially a laptop that's $300 or $400 cheaper for similar performance. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, so we have the Vega 7 2700U with Vega 10.
Right. Okay.
Ryzen 7.
Right.
And it's quad core with SMT, up to 3.8 gigahertz, Vega 10.
15 watt TDP is really low too. Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I don't know. I'm going to be interested. This seems more like a high-end offering in that case. That's
exactly it then, because 15 watts versus 100 watts.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that 15 watts is including the GPU because it's an APU. So this is more of a high-end offering. It'll be interesting, and this might be a push from Intel and AMD to push back against NVIDIA's Max-Q a little bit to be like, here, we can make thin and light good gaming laptops too.
Yeah. It also doesn't look like the APUs have HBM because they're APUs.
Yeah,
So,
right. Makes sense. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what comes of this, actually. Maybe my next laptop is going to be running an 8809G.
The 8809.
The 88 OG.
No, just the 8809.
The 8809. Maybe my next system will be running that as like a thin and light, but still workhorse. Because this monster I love using for streaming and portable gaming. But if I'm going somewhere for a night or a day, I don't want to lug this around, of course. This thing weighs like 25 pounds. All right, so next topic. So you actually wrote the article on this. This is the Samsung QLED ultra-wide monitor.
Yes.
So this is over on the site if you want all the details, but it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, so they announced a 34-inch, 2560. No, I'm just kidding. 3440 by 1440.
Typos are the best.
Yes. QLED monitor. It does support a wider color gamut than most, as it reflects color across 125% of the sRGB spectrum.
Right,
so
but no HDR confirmed.
We don't know yet.
But I would be really surprised if it wasn't HDR.
I think that they're just going through HDR certification.
Probably, because I mean that's a thing now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so they're not talking about it, and they'll probably. I'm assuming they'll hopefully have it done before CES.
Yeah.
And that way they can announce it at CES, the HDR spec at CES.
Right.
Because they talk about better blacks, they talk about wider whites, they talk about more colors. All the stuff you want in HDR.
This took a really different turn for just a second. Like a really. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. That was really bad.
Also, it has a Thunderbolt 3 port, which is a big deal because there hasn't been
many displays at all with that.
And there hasn't been any curved ultrawides that have it. Now, this supports charging up to 85 watts, meaning if you buy an 8809G laptop, you can't charge it with this, but you can charge most USB-C ultrawiders.
Well, you could charge it. You just can't charge it while using it extensively. Yeah. Microsoft, we're looking at you, Mr. Surface, who doesn't give it enough power. That made me so mad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But you will be able to charge Razer Blade Stealth or a MacBook Pro.
It's cool.
Yeah, and you'll be able to output and charge with a single cable. Or if you have a USB or a Thunderbolt dock that has Thunderbolt 3 output, then you can just daisy chain, which was one of the key things with Thunderbolt that never really got taken advantage of was daisy chain.
And, you know, not only that, but this... Well, no, man. I'm thinking... I don't know if that would work. I was thinking, so a lot of the GPU docks, the eGPU docks, have a Thunderbolt input and a Thunderbolt output, right? So that you can daisy chain to other stuff. My curiosity would be, say you do a Thunderbolt input to the GPU, then you do Thunderbolt out to a display. Are you going to be able to display on that display from the GPU? Now, before you say obviously not because it's not plugged into the GPU, with just the single Thunderbolt cable, you can have that GPU play games back onto your laptop's display. So I would assume you could do some kind of output.
It depends on the Thunderbolt dock, I feel like. Because when you look at something like a Thunderbolt expansion card, the way that those do output is they have to have a cable going from the GPU to the card.
Okay.
Whereas it's different when you're already having to transmit data to the GPU itself.
Yeah.
It can send it back over the PCI Express portion, but another output might not run that same
okay, you're right.
way.
Yeah. That would make sense.
It's just dependent on how the GPU dock that you have in specific is wired. Unfortunately, I don't have any to test.
So, I love the world we live in. Okay, so Thunderbolt is this super, super fast interface that's super awesome, and immediately after it came out, Thunderbolt 3 that is, and started getting pushed, and it was finally enough bandwidth, like, oh, we can actually maybe do some things with this now. It's like, oh, we're capped, we need more.
Yeah.
I love that where it's like, now it's like, oh, 40 gigabits per second, not enough, sorry, we need like way more than that.
It's not going to be remotely surprising to me if, since Thunderbolt is going available for general use at no cost this year if we see Thunderbolt 4.
Yeah, which would be amazing.
And then just every time that there's a new version, Intel allows the previous version to be used widespread.
Open source, yeah. Or maybe they'll go all open,
so long as it's backwards compatible.
Right, exactly. Now,
all open might happen because Intel did make this Thunderbolt move, at least with the claim that they were doing this because it's such a good connection.
Yeah.
That they might as well
make it a thing everybody
that
uses.
Everyone can use and take advantage of. And other than Apple products, I can't really see many companies that actually would have chosen Intel over AMD because of Thunderbolt.
But what about DockPort?
I remember when you were all excited about that.
I was excited because it was a competitor and it never became of a thing.
Yep.
So
and maybe that's why Intel open sourced it. Is they're just like
you can't even.
That was cute.
Maybe they were like, "Hey, AMD, you don't need to keep developing that. We're just gonna let you have this because we don't want to see you suffer."
Or Intel's like, we're going to stump you on GPUs in a couple years. We'll give you something.
Just, here you go. Yeah, right. So, I really like the Thunderbolt interface, and we are going to be able to do some amazing things. And I would love a world that we could live in someday. This isn't for me, but for a lot of people. You've got your Ultrabook, and then you've got your dock at home, okay? You go home, you plug a single cable in your Ultrabook that both charges it and transmits enough data to output to multiple displays and game at 4K on a 11D80 Ti.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know.
But
you should be.
Yeah. But anyway, as an example, I would love if we could see a world where we live in where you've got a quad-core CPU and a super thin and light work machine. You want to play games when you get home, you plug it in, and there's your that's your workstation, that's your gaming. Now, desktops will remain to be more powerful. But for gaming, at least, could be major. And for GPU accelerated tasks, maybe only a quad-core Ultrabook CPU is all you need, but a GPU is what you really need.
Yeah,
it helps with people
I don't
develop
think there's been, from any of the reviewers that I followed, any significant testing on the bottleneck from quad-core Ultrabooks. Because the last time when GPU docks first started coming out was when we saw the tests where we saw that the Blade Stealth's dual-core
just couldn't hack it.
Really do it.
Yeah. If you were playing with a 1060, you might be okay.
I'll ask about that on Linus's forums and see if they can do another.
I wish I had one to test with.
I know.
I do. It's this system could technically support it. I've got Thunderbolt on here.
But you have Thunderbolt 3?
I have Thunderbolt 3. I have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports.
Nice.
I could technically do it with this if I had a
That'd
dock.
be so weird.
I know.
Let me use my desktop
and then put a 1050 Ti in it, so it's just external GPU that's not as powerful as my built-in 1070.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It'd be a fun thing to test though, because we've seen it work on desktops with Thunderbolt, so it would work on this. I don't know. So the other thing is Thunderbolt 3 was a limit for GPUs bandwidth-wise. Anything higher than about a 1050 Ti, 1060, you saw some limits depending on the game, right? So I'd be interested in seeing a quad-core Ultrabook tested with that in specific to see about CPU bottlenecks, but that still doesn't mitigate the unfortunate bandwidth bottleneck.
Yeah.
So.
But that'll be what Thunderbolt 4 is for.
Right, exactly.
But I'm just more so excited for the eventual future of everything Thunderbolt.
Yeah, and I can agree with that, because honestly, USB isn't keeping up speed-wise, and we need faster speeds.
Yeah. Just think, cameras, Thunderbolt, phones, Thunderbolt, tablets, Thunderbolt, laptops, everything.
And it would make more sense for really high-end cameras that are using 4K that are recording to SSDs.
And it's so much easier for consumers.
It is.
If you can say, your computer has Thunderbolt 3, and you know what that entails.
Right. It'd be just like USB 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's a similar thing.
Whereas now,
it's
if
just
you
now
look
it's
at
better.
The USB-C connector, which is what some people actually who are mainstream consumers do want because phones have it.
Yeah, it just makes sense to put that connector everywhere.
When you look at when you're buying products for just general USB-C, you have USB-C Type 2, Type 3.1, Type 3.1. Or 3.2.
No, you have Type. You have USB. Okay, are you talking different connectors or different just formats?
No, I'm just talking
USB-C in specific. Okay, so you have USB-C that's using USB 2.0.
Yes.
You have USB-C that's using USB 3.0. You have USB-C.
It's 3.1 now. It's not. There is.
They had some that were using 3.0 though.
No, but it's 3.0 and 3.1a are the same thing.
3.1 Gen 1 are the same thing. Yes. That is true. But there's one minor difference, and that's the power delivery. 3.1.
No, power delivery is just a thing of USB.
No, not power delivery in that sense. The amount of wattage that can be put out over it, as far as I understand, is slightly higher.
I'll find it.
Okay, you will find it. And then there's USB 3.1 Gen 2, which is faster.
Yes.
It's confusing for consumers. It would make sense to just USB-C. It's still called USB, so it won't confuse the crap out of too many people in terms of that. But it's running Thunderbolt interface-wise.
Or just call it USB Thunderbolt.
Or just USB still.
USB-T.
Hey! More confusion.
Yes.
And don't worry, guys. So we've got one more news topic, and then we've got a CES kind of prediction, what to expect segment that'll be for about the last 30 minutes of the show. So just giving you all a heads up there. Finding out information. Because I thought there was one difference between 3.1 Gen 1 and 3.0. That's why they made a 3.1 Gen 1 instead of just keeping it at 3.1 being 3.1 Gen 2. And I thought it was the amount of wattage that was able to be delivered over USB. I could have sworn. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, this doesn't say. We can just go on to the next topic.
Okay. So the next topic is one that I wanted to mention. Wait. I want to see if I might have found an article on it. I might have. Because I want to get this right for people. No, I don't want to join your newsletter. Okay, so USB 3.0 went up to... so USB power delivery 2.0 makes a big step forward as well with up to 100 watts of power. I think what it was is... I don't think power delivery existed on 3.0.
Power delivery isn't a part of USB. It's part of, or it's not a part of the specific. You can have USB 2.0 cables that support power delivery.
I thought it was
power delivery is part of the C spec, not. Yeah, it's part of the C spec. It's not part of the 3 spec.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, so I don't know what the actual difference between them was, but anyway, banana.com isn't loading. Oh, reconnection successful.
There we go.
Reconnection successful. Okay, banana.com. All right, guys, we are back. I am so sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Internet went out for a moment. Literally happens almost every day here. It's Comcast's fault. I've done everything network management-wise that I can do to mitigate this problem, so I apologize when this happens, guys. I was a network major, so I do know what I'm doing, and I have no idea why Comcast is going out repeatedly, but everything I can do on the network here is optimized as best as possible. Banana.com.
Juice, really, fortunately.
Countdown opening, powered by Banana Intelligence.
So in testing the internet, I randomly decided to go to banana.com, and it brought up the strangest website. Like, it has a menu button that doesn't work.
Okay, I've got screen cap set up. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Banana.
You have to translate it, too.
Banana.com. I'm going to... Probably going to have... I bet you it's like mining crypto right now. I mean, my CPU did technically go up and perform... No, it's not mining crypto. Anyway, so you go to banana.com. Here, I want to show you guys this because it's hilarious. So I'm doing a screen cap real quick. Woo, screenception. Banana honey juice, really fortunately. Countdown opening time. Banana.com, all rights reserved, powered by Banana Intelligence. Like, he just went to this. That was a beautiful thing. I don't know what this is. If this is somebody's, like... If this is not supposed to be shown publicly or something for some reason, I apologize, but I thought it was funny. I wanted to show it. Going back to the stream. Okay, so the new Crucial Carl SSD, no, I'm kidding, is the Crucial MX500, is a SATA SSD. Now, there's still innovation to be had in SATA SSDs in terms of capacity and in terms of potentially things like latency a little bit and stuff like that, but mostly capacity and price. And that's exactly what this SSD in specific is aimed to help with. So it is a 1 terabyte triple level cell-based, TLC-based SSD, currently only available in 1 terabyte. It's $260 for the 1 terabyte model. Mm-hmm. That is the cheapest 1 terabyte SSD that we have seen to date, other than maybe like a special sale or something like that, right? Yeah. So that's really cool. So I'm planning to get 2 of them, mostly for game storage, potentially overflow video storage if for some reason my 1 terabyte 960 EVO fills up with a project and I need more space for more projects or something like that. But yeah, just total awesome SSDs for the price. And from what I've understood, PC Perspective did a whole look into them, and I believe a full review, actually. Alan Malventano, I think I pronounced that right, did that. And they're really awesome, so full credit goes to them for the reviews. But they were really impressed Alan was really impressed by the performance of it. So just wanted to shout out to that SSD there. If you're interested in a high-capacity SSD, that's probably the one to go for. Pretty awesome there. All right, so CES, what to expect. This is mostly your segment.
Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a lot. It's a big show.
Yes.
But the key things, and we had mentioned Magic Leap earlier because of a comment on our Twitch.
Yep.
And Magic Leap Magic Leap is not going to have a booth. I checked.
Right.
Unless they are taking one of the on hold booths. There are still booths that haven't been announced.
Right, and that could be a big surprise or something.
But as of right now, they don't have a booth. But augmented reality is going to be there. We know that augmented reality has been growing, whether it be through phone, whether it's like Apple's AR kit, or it's glasses like Magic Leap and Microsoft's HoloLens. I wouldn't be surprised if there's HoloLens demos available there, as an example.
Yeah, for sure.
The AR is looking like, in my opinion, for non-gaming purposes, it's going to be the like mainstream thing that people use. We'll see like casual games. We'll see tools with it. Like obviously you wouldn't want to use it for super precise measurements, at least yet. But Apple has on their App Store apps that can use ARKit to do measurement. So you can get like at least a general rough idea. So like let's say you're moving into a place and you want to know about how long a wall is and they don't have floor plans available or something like that. Mm-hmm. You can just do a quick scan. You can say, okay, this is about this many feet and this many inches roughly. That type of thing. Just a bunch of different uses for augmented reality, and especially as the technology gets better for tracking.
Yeah.
We'll see that just improve. And so what I'm thinking that we're going to see here especially is a lot of tech that shows what AR is potentially able to do, like what the peak of it with the hardware that they can make now is, rather than what seeing a whole bunch of just minor tech demos. Because like if you were to just show a whole bunch of like the different apps that are on the App Store, that's not all that great of an experience. Like they're just kind of in demo now. Right. But I think we're going to see a lot of like really cool experiences, major potential for them, and I think we're going to see maybe 1 or 2 headsets pop up that are like competitors to the Magic Leap. And
it might be from like manufacturers that we've seen do stuff like that before, like Acer and stuff too.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see actual mixed reality headsets instead of
supporting Windows. Yeah.
Instead of the mixed reality headsets that are just virtual reality headsets with a dumb name.
Right.
So that's going to be a big one. TVs is obviously CES is TV announcement week, pretty much. That's generally.
That's like yeah, exactly.
I'm expecting a lot of 8K, maybe even 8K products that we can buy later this year.
Yep.
For some reason.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we can have like some 8K displays.
Yeah.
What we need to see though, what we really need to see, and what's really important to me.
8K projectors.
No, not 8K projectors. I want to see Sony release an Xperia XZY Premium Super Ultra Mega that has an 8K display for no apparent reason.
4K phone, 8K tablet.
You see, but there's a little bit of precedent to that. Like, there's a little actual good reason for that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, because I think 4K on a phone, that's like, you do not need to go higher than that. I mean, once you're at about 500 pixels per inch, you're pretty good to where no matter how close you get, it's really hard to tell the difference. Yeah. I'd say once you hit like 600-700, like it's like literally no human eye can see the difference there.
I think that the one advantage to 4K over 1440p, and this is a very minor thing, but is proper scaling to 1080p.
Yeah, right.
So you can do 4K when you're specifically in 4K content, and then for everything else, run it in 1080p. Yeah. And 1080p, even on a 5.5-inch phone, is still great. What are you doing?
I am doing something. Hold on.
You are looking at PPIs.
I am looking up PPI so that we know. So, if Sony did a 5-inch display at 8K, it'd be 1,762 PPI.
Sony, if you do it and it's under like $2,000, I'll sell something to buy that.
I will too. Because I mean, realistically, like I was like, once you hit like 700, like the human eye can't tell. It's like here's another 1,000 tacked on top of that.
Yeah. That would be impressive.
I mean, yeah, I'd be impressed.
Also, I think that from every major company, we will see new 4K OLED or 4K quantum dot displays. Like it's going to be either OLED or quantum dot from everyone.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see. Well, actually, I think we will see really high-end, but more budget-oriented 4K TVs that aren't QLED or OLED.
I was going to talk about that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I think in general, every company that releases medium to high-end TVs will have quantum dot or OLED.
I think you're right. And quantum dot, I don't know if Samsung has very many patents on that yet or not. I don't think they do. No, I mean, they do.
Sony was the first ones to come out with quantum dot TVs. Quantum dot's not Samsung's thing.
No, you're right. Okay, I forgot Sony actually came out with some. Yeah. That had. I thought it was only Samsung that had so far. Okay.
No, not even close. There's probably 3 or 4 companies that have them.
Didn't Sharp? No, Sharp did Quattro, which was the fourth.
Yellow.
The yellow. That's right. The yellow. Woo.
Yep.
I mean, you only live once, right?
I quit.
Sorry.
And as you were just talking about 4K TVs that are cheaper.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say, I think that cheap 4K HDR TVs will get a lot better. And as I was talking to you about earlier, I think that we'll see the first MSRP-wise sub $500 TV to be HDR supported with an actual wider color gamut.
And 4K. Which there are sub $500 4K TVs.
Yes.
But not HDR. And with good color.
There's no 1080p HDR TVs that I've seen.
Yeah, you're right.
So, if we're talking HDR, you're talking 4K HDR.
Yeah. There are 1440p HDR displays.
Not TVs.
I know.
And nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares about displays on phones?
No.
I didn't know that.
No, unless it's an iPhone.
Oh, unless it's an iPhone. Okay.
Because, dumb. But yeah, I think we'll see sub $500 wide color gamut TVs. I also think that as gaming has been continuing to boom in popularity, we'll see more gaming features on TVs, and I think that a key thing is going to be faster response times. I like Vizio TVs in general, but that's been my biggest problem with my TV up until the capacitor issue that was not Vizio specific.
Is your current TV's a Vizio, right?
Yes.
And what capacitor issue? I actually did not know.
So occasionally my TV just reboots. And from best I can tell, at the time that TV was manufactured, multiple TV manufacturers had issues with capacitors.
So it was probably a capacitor supplier that was supplying really
and
bad
I'm too far past my warranty because I'm too lazy to do anything about it. I figured I'm just going to buy a 4K HDR TV anyway, so...
It makes sense too. I mean, maybe they were pushing the capacitors just above their rating or something like that too.
Yeah.
Although what does annoy me about your Vizio TV is it flickers. I can always see it flickering, and you and Calvin can't see it, but I sit there and I'm like, this is going to give me a migraine. I don't know what it is. It's really weird. I don't know what it is. I've never seen a TV do it, and I only notice it if I'm like looking off your TV.
I think you're just crazy.
Maybe so, because literally when
I've never worked anyone
in the electronics department, when I worked in the electronics department, we literally had your TV there and it did not do that. So I have no idea what it is.
My TV is also dying. It literally restarts more and more frequently.
So maybe it's something related to that I'm seeing. I've always been able to see flickers really well. I don't know.
And it doesn't always restart. So what it does is sometimes the display, like the panel itself, will just shut off and turn back on.
Oh man, so
and sometimes it will do like a partial restart where it will know that it shut off enough to redisplay which input it's on.
Okay,
then sometimes it fully shuts off.
That's so weird. Yeah. Oh man.
Other than that, from Vizio, I really want to see them work on input lag. Because, Jesus Christ, on my TV, the 4K input lag is terrible.
It's not just Vizio that has a problem with that,
I know, but no, it's like I can't... I literally could not play Guitar Hero when I bought the new Guitar Hero because it was so bad.
Well, as an example, Samsung, if you leave all their processing on, input lag makes games unplayable.
But this is with everything off.
Right, and so what I'm saying is with Samsung, you've got to turn it all off. I'm guessing Vizio's just not turning off as much as they should, because it might not be the panel's fault, or it could just be a bad panel.
If you're buying a 4K TV, look at rtings.com if you care about input lag, because they do the best testing.
RTING.
Yes.
Yes, exactly as it sounds, rtings.
And monitors now. I forgot. We talked about that.
They do monitors. Yes, we talked about that, which is really, really, really cool. Because if you're that good at displays, why aren't you doing displays that probably matter more with color accuracy?
And eventually headphones.
Yes. Which, well, that'll be interesting to me because a lot of headphone reviewing is about describing. Well, first it's about, is this a piece of art and why?
Yeah.
And then it's about describing the sound of how it feels to you using words that don't make any sense to describe sound, like wet.
But they did talk about when they were doing the monitor update, their plans for eventually doing it, where they would essentially, there's a number of different ways they're considering it, but like a key thing is essentially they're trying to figure out ways to go about if you have a preference for more bass-heavy music, or if you're doing audio editing and need reviewing it based on a number of different things.
You need something really accurate in that situation.
And
so,
one of the ideas was even potentially being able to customize the sound curve, and see how it responds to that.
You better not make me obsolete, guys.
Our team
I'm getting heavily into headphone reviews like now, and our team is just like, no. Not you in particular.
You just gotta one-up them, dude.
That's true. You're right. I just gotta get hundreds of thousands of dollars of testing equipment. No problem. I'll go to a bank and be like, hey, can I get like testing equipment, a loan for it? What are you using it for? Well, I test headphones.
But in practical terms, you could do things like
use my Yeti and
no, I was gonna say rather than just say I've listened to a couple different types of music, do like thorough testing where you specifically, like when you're using that pair of headphones, you only use it for a certain thing for a few days.
Yeah,
you focus on something for a little while, and then have a set thing that you do
rather
for all
than
headphones.
Just a general review. As it's like, these sound this way doing games, and this way listening to hip hop, and this way
like you would do
EDM.
It for benchmarking, have a specific set of songs that you listen to for each type.
Yeah,
and then have a specific set of audio you listen to for like something you would generally want a flat frequency response for, like audio editing.
Or I can just stick to describing the sound as moist.
Yes. It sounds moist and tinny at the same time.
Well, no, but if you've ever actually read a proper high-end audiophile headphone review, the terms that are used are really weird. It's like these headphones sound really wet, but not muddy, but a little dirty. It's just and
how can something be wet and dirty and not muddy?
I'm serious.
Yeah,
I'm serious though. The terminology is the weirdest thing. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's got this kind of gravel sound to it. You know what I mean? It's no, I don't know what you mean.
It sounds like a potato.
What do you mean it sounds wet? I can understand it from one point, but from another point, it's how do you define this sounds wet?
Yeah.
Is it an ocean? What do you mean it sounds wet?
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyway.
Other than TVs.
Other than TVs, more CES predictions. Yes. Other than TVs and wet headphones.
I'm sure there's going to be some wet headphones.
I wonder if we're going to see a successor to the Orpheus from Sennheiser, which was that $50,000 amp electrostatic headphone combo.
Maybe we'll see a fully water-resistant but functional set of Orpheus headphones that you can listen to underwater, so you can have the fully immersive experience of being immersed in water.
Wet headphones. On the contrary too, when people were like, that's so insanely expensive, which obviously it was priced as you need to be rich and a serious headphone collector to buy this. Also, there has to be an understanding about handmade tubes and a piece of frickin' granite. I mean, that's not cheap.
Granite doesn't cost $50,000.
No, but I mean, the amp alone, just the parts, was probably $2 or $3 grand. Just the parts, not the manufacturing by hand or anything.
And then the assembling by hand, counting high-paid employees, was probably a couple grand at most.
Plus
then they have to upcharge you the 40 grand.
Well, because they're only making a few of them, but plus, the way the headphone, the way the amps is presented as the tubes, they go
they can't see that, right?
Huh?
They can't see that. Like, not at all.
Best podcast ever, guys. You gotta admit it. This is the best place to go. Yeah, I'm just sitting there behind the screen going, oh boy, that's bad.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, back to tech.
You want to talk about headphones more?
No.
Okay.
There's a time for audio talk. This is not now.
I mean, it's audio.
Yeah. There was a podcast I used to listen to PKA all the time, and at one point there was like a joke of mic talk, and I just kept spamming in chat like more mic talk, and eventually they did it.
Oh man! Hey, what I need to do actually, we need to start a new podcast. It is a audio only live stream
called Mic Talk.
No, it's literally just a microphone, and you just put headphones on the microphone and play music.
So you get copyright strikes.
No. You change out the headphones once a day. So you have a 24-hour live stream of like this pair of headphones, and that's the title. Then you change the title to like, you know, the AKG K612
No, it's just
Pros.
always this pair of headphones.
No, this way you know what those headphones really sound like.
Yeah, you listen to them through other headphones.
Through other headphones.
Okay then.
Well, you just need to buy a really accurate pair of headphones. Then you'll know how the other ones are all off.
Shut up.
Okay, let's get into smart home. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah.
So I have a feeling that we're going to see smart mirrors that you can actually buy this year.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple times in the past. I think it was Audi that had a really cool smart mirror concept that was designed to be a part of their smart.
Replacing your windshield with a mirror?
No. It wasn't a fully self-driving car, but the idea was like you could have on your wall a smart mirror, and at the base was a spot for your keys, and the mirror would be able to tell you like how charged your electric car is, your traffic, and then like other details like your calendar, appointments, where you need to go, package tracking, weather, stuff like that. And then when you picked up the keys, it would automatically open your garage door, pull your car out of the garage.
And like probably warm it up and everything.
Yeah, it would get it ready for you.
You just get in the
car,
pick up the
keys and get in the car, and you leave. And then when you
How convenient would that be?
And then when you get home, you don't even pull into the garage. You just go to wherever the closest entrance is. You set your keys down, and the car gets into the garage on its own.
That's such. Oh, yeah. I hadn't seen that. That would be so convenient because it's like, what's everybody's frustration with a car? Having to back it out of the garage.
Yeah.
Because you have to press a button to open and close the garage.
Yes,
and that is an inconvenience.
See,
okay.
Don't say inconvenience, because that makes you sound lazy. It's inefficient.
That's true. It is inefficient. It takes more time.
Think about, like,
that's time you could be shit posting on Facebook.
But think about this. It may only be a second here, a second there, but seconds add up.
Seconds do add up. And what if you realize that all the times that you press that garage door button throughout your 80-year lifespan was enough time to play another round of competitive Overwatch? Yeah. Like, how mad would you be?
Exactly.
Like, I could have played competitive Overwatch. I'm on my deathbed, and instead I spent that time opening and closing garage doors. But no, but I mean, but thinking realistically, like how, like everybody's major complaint, like it's very common for people to, especially if you live in a place like here where we have huge temperature fluctuations, right?
Yes.
Where it's like you want your car to be X temperature when you get in it. You hate having to wait for it to warm up. Everybody does, especially me because I'm lazy. No, or you hate for waiting for it to cool down. So having automatic climate control helps with that. But if you forget to if you don't have remote start or you forget to remote start your car, that sucks.
Yeah.
In fact, I would like to set things up on like a schedule where it's like my car automatically remote starts 10 minutes before I leave the house or whatever.
But then what happens if you're running late? Then your car's just been running for 10
minutes. If it's an electric car, it's just running, it just gets the temperature to where it's supposed to be at and maintains it.
Yeah.
So if it's a petrol car, I mean, global warming isn't real anyway.
Okay, Trump. What I would like to see is rather than someone like Audi or Nissan or even Tesla release their own mirror that does this, I would like to see a tech company release a smart mirror.
Yes.
And I think maybe someone like Samsung would be crazy enough to do this.
I'm sure Samsung would, yeah.
Release a smart mirror that has a base that can work with different cars. And what it does is rather than you pick up the car and like the base detects it and sends the signal to the car, new cars, or at least new remotes on compatible cars, that you would go on your keychain, would detect when they're removed from the base, and then the key that's already able to send that signal to your car would do that.
Yeah. And that would be really cool.
Some kind of, and would have to be a company like Samsung to make the push for this, unless the car manufacturers did it themselves. But some kind of standard that this works with.
Samsung would be a company that's not unlikely to do it either.
Samsung.
They work with a lot of...
Like, first off, watch our podcast.
Yeah, like, you should watch our podcast. How cool are we?
Yeah. Second off, do that idea. And third off, if you want to pay me some money or even just give me a car, cool.
I mean, especially you should watch our podcast because we primarily talk about mobile products like Samsung. Mm-hmm. Not like Intel Optane or something weird like that. Like,
we never talk about that.
We never talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually am more excited for smart mirrors myself, and have been more excited for smart mirrors than basically all other smart home tech out there. Mm-hmm. I actually would like a smart mirror more than I care about having a Google Home.
Yeah.
Like, how convenient would it be when I'm brushing my teeth to have a bunch of information about here's your daily news, here's the weather outside, it's supposed to rain, watch out for ice, like... you have these appointments today. Like, that's something that would be huge to me. Multitasking is important when you're getting ready in the morning and stuff like that. And, like, cool, I can say, blankety blank, turn off my lights. Mm-hmm. That's convenient, but it's more time than reading. Like, having to ask for the temperature, ask for the news, ask for your appointments or whatever. It's like, can it just be where I'm getting ready for work?
Yeah. I personally...
Self-cleaning, too, would be so cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Personally, if we don't see a $300 smart mirror announced in the next 6 months, I'm going to make my own. Because it's...
Yeah, I mean, just get a Raspberry Pi. You can.
Yeah,
it's
a Raspberry
not that hard.
Pi. All you need is a Raspberry Pi, a monitor, a specific type of mirror, which there's sites that actually sell them that you can get them custom fitted to your monitor for smart mirrors.
Or you could just, cut a chunk out of the mirror and put a monitor in the mirror. No. But yeah, I know there's ones that sell it specifically for that project.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just casing. And then there's software online already for it. But,
I mean, you could probably do it for the price, like a decent sized mirror for $200.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Raspberry Pi is so cheap.
Yeah. It depends. If you have a monitor, you can easily do it for under $200. If you don't, you're probably looking at $300 if you want to get a...
Yeah, especially because you shouldn't go TN, because you're probably looking at it from a weird angle. You probably want to get an IPS panel. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Google Assistant, right?
In everything.
Everything.
This is another smart home thing I'm expecting. So, Google Assistant, specifically Google Assistant, mind you, not Google.
Yes.
Google Assistant's booth is larger than the Alexa booth.
You mean the Alexa or the Exela or the Echo booth?
If Amazon wants to be dumb and make it so just Alexa triggers it, that's their fault. If you buy that product, and then that's a problem you're gonna have to deal with.
Mine's probably listening to you right now, by the way.
Yours is always listening to me. It's Amazon.
I mean, true.
It's Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
He wants to take over.
He wants data.
Yeah. But I'm expecting that, like we saw with Alexa products over the past couple of years, where they're trying to get them in everything.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see that with Google Assistant, and I think they're gonna be more successful because it's Google.
Google Assistant, in my experience, has been better.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a Google Home, and I have an Alexa, and I've been happier with the Google Home.
Even Insignia, a Best Buy store brand, has a smart speaker for I saw it on sale for $50 for a Google Home sized one, not like a Home Mini sized one. Obviously, we don't know how it sounds like because I haven't tested it. But that has
so it's who cares?
That has Google Assistant built. Well, some people do like to use it for music and stuff.
And in that case, I feel like you should go with a brand like Bose, Sonos, or something that's reputable for having good sounding speakers. In my personal opinion.
You would need one of those with the assistant built in.
Right, and so that's what this
Sonos
is
one is very expensive. Some people want the best they can get for $100.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot more stuff with assistant. We've started to see headphones and speakers. I think we'll see a lot more of that. And I think we'll see it move to other products. Maybe Google will have a smart mirror.
If they have a smart mirror with assistant built in, I will buy one.
Yes, straight up. It could be $500. I'll buy it.
Yeah. I will buy it, assuming
Please don't
it's
make it
$500 or less. Yeah,
but I will buy it.
Yeah. I would assume with a smart, if it was made by Google, if it was made in bulk and it didn't end up being a Google Glass-esque project, it'd probably be $250.
Yeah. The biggest thing and why, especially if Google did it, I would be so on board, is apps.
Yeah.
Obviously, they wouldn't want to use Android, but they could make some kind of fairly bare bones system for it.
Yep.
And just have a basic set of APIs for applications, and it would get support.
Yeah.
Other than Apple, I don't think that there's any other company that could get immediate support as quick.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other than that, for smart home stuff, I think it's just going to be mainly minor stuff, more smart appliances, more lights, more expansion on general smart home stuff.
I really would like to see some actually fairly cheap smart home lights that function properly with smart home tech that are just one good normal ambient color. So I'm talking basically what IKEA released, except not garbage.
So Philips use $15 bulbs?
I thought those were still $30.
No, so they have two different options at the low end. They have the one set color that's just dimmable, and then they have the
white ambiance.
Yes.
I thought the white ambiance was like 40, and the one set color was like 30. No. Oh, okay. So they have 15. Okay, I'd like to see some for $10.
Yeah, and then $5, and then free.
No, $10 actually would be the point where I would probably, for like a Christmas for my family, replace every light bulb in this house with. Yeah. So I mean.
Because the bridge would be, if you don't buy a bundle, the bridge is $40.
So that's like $12 a piece. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So maybe that's something I'd like to do, but I'd like to see more smart bulbs myself. Like I'd like to see more options in that segment and more smart lighting. I want to see
general. What's the other RGB bulb company?
LIFX?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to see them make cheap white bulbs that don't require a bridge.
Yeah, because the bridge is an inconvenience, realistically. Yeah. And can Philips Hue chain? So can you have a bridge and then like 3,000 feet that way with a bunch of bulbs along the way?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Because that would be really convenient. Because that's actually one of my favorite things about smart home stuff is being able to say blankety blank, turn off my lights, or turn on my lights because my hands are full all the time. So that'd be really cool. I'd also really like to see somebody release fluorescent tube style lights, which they already have those in LED. They're just the same shape, that are also smart lights.
Yeah.
Because up in our attic or in the garage, it's really common to use the really bright white light fluorescent tubes because they're really good for doing work on a car or something. I'd like to see those in smart bulbs because if you really smart home companies, if you really want to be successful, I feel like one of the necessary things is making products that fill up the entire home. Yeah. If you just make, here's the standard light bulb, but it's what about people that want fluorescent lights? What about people that use specialized chandeliers? What about people that are want light strips in different places?
They do have a lot more than just the standard.
I know they've expanded more.
Yeah, they're working on it.
But I don't just mean lights in specific. I mean as a smart home company, you need to design smart stuff for everything. For example, August. Yes, it's very cool that you have a smart lock for a deadbolt, but I also so happen to be one of the most people that also locks the knob on my house. Make one that locks the knob. Or what about sliding doors that have the slide locks? What about those? Why would I want to convert my home, my deadbolts, to August locks when I can't control the locks in the rest of my home with it?
When it comes to sliding doors, that's going to be much more complicated.
That's a hard one,
Sliding doors are so much different in a lot of cases. When it comes to the option for both top and bottom.
Yeah.
For one, especially if you're using a smart lock, why would you need to lock the bottom one if it's this? Generally for not.
You get my point.
I'm not saying you in general, but for most people, they lock the bottom one when they're in a hurry or just for convenience, and they lock the deadbolt for I guess security.
I mean, the deadbolts are stronger than people expect too, but.
Get the convenience of quicker, because you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Then you might as well just leave it to the deadbolt.
And while I don't disagree with that,
and it doesn't make sense to get people to spend extra money.
You get the point I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
Is you need to cover every aspect of a home if you're going to do smart home appliances.
Yeah. It takes a lot of time and development.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I agree. But a smart home is about a smart home, not a smart bits inside of a regular home, right?
And keep in mind, outside of the mainstream companies, there's a lot more smart home stuff. If you look at actual straight not through the
there are companies that specialize in we will turn your home into a smart home. Yeah. But I want to see more easily implemented smart hinges that can open and close doors, smart like curtain rods that can actually move the curtains.
Yeah, they do have smart blinds.
They do have smart blinds, yeah. And stuff like that. Because if I can start controlling all that stuff, like, hey, open the blinds, hey, open my door, unlock this door, lock this door, set the alarm,
then I'd never have to
change
put
the
in
temperature.
any physical effort ever again.
Well, but when you think about it, not putting in physical effort can either be lazy or promote more time for things that are more important to get done.
Efficiency, which I just said earlier.
Efficiency. Yeah. Right. It's like if I can save 5 or 10 minutes a day by not doing those things.
Horizontal curtains.
Talking instead. Okay, there we go.
Boom.
Talking instead, or not, why did I say talking? No, but doing work, I'm weird. Anyway, working instead. I'm always talking right now. Working instead. If I can do that, that's convenient.
Yeah,
and that would allow me to get a little more work done. Like, oh, I can maybe finish an article that I couldn't have gotten done otherwise. What is this?
Yeah, so this is a video about smart curtains, and the dude's just naked and the curtains just open up. Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway. All right, so we've also got a quick comment and one more topic to get to really quick, but we're running out of time here. So Felipe is asking, do you think we'll get a Cortana speaker? Yes, it'll be garbage.
Harman Kardon already has one.
Harman Kardon already made one, yes. Is it available for sale yet? I don't know.
Probably.
I think it is. But actually, we'll probably see more of them, and they'll all suck. There's a reason that Cortana paired up with Alexa, right? Because Cortana is not very good, unfortunately. Yeah. Joe says, yay, I made it. Yes, you did. We're closing up soon. But stay tuned, because right before we end, I have something important to say.
Yes. And then, so other than smart home stuff, we're also going to see a lot of self-driving car stuff.
We're talking about CES for anybody that just joined. CES predictions.
Yes. So NVIDIA is going to have a press event in...
they'll probably have the biggest self-driving, section.
From best I can tell, BMW does.
Oh, really?
Yes, because BMW has, a space where nobody else has space.
And BMW also, if they make so much money... Even in comparison to other car companies and stuff, when it comes to per car sale, they could probably afford to dump more into this.
And BMW, from best I can tell, BMW is going to be the one that has demos, which is not abnormal for them. They like to have self-driving demos.
Which they had some, BMW's been trying to dabble more in electric and smart cars. If you look at the i3 or whatever it is from BMW, it's not that great of a car. But when you look at the inside, this looks like the future, and that's cool to see that they're going for that kind of style. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so NVIDIA is gonna have a press event, and generally at CES, their press events within the past couple of years have been car focused and have been AI focused.
Yep.
I don't expect this to be any different. Graphics cards are generally at GDC or GTC.
Yeah.
Which is not now. And then, the other thing
some people are expecting to see Ampere. No, you won't. From NVIDIA. Maybe you'll see some kind of, teaser, but that's it. It's not... It's going to be GTC in March. That's when you're going to see Ampere.
Yeah. And then, as I was going to say, BMW has a really big booth, so they'll have a car presence for sure.
Yeah,
it seems like, from best I can tell, obviously I haven't gone through the full map because I didn't have time. But BMW is the only car company that has a big outdoor space reserved on the CES lot. That doesn't mean that across the street or something outside of the CES booth area, a car company could have space, or sometimes they'll even do demos, a few miles down the road. That's not uncommon.
Right.
But at CES, BMW is going to be the ones with the demo.
I think you're right. So CES, what we expect, AR, VR, really good TVs, smart home, self-driving cars. And one thing I actually wanted to add, I think we're going to see a lot of really nice monitors, because we saw a lot at Computex, but none came out. I think we're going to see them refined and potential release dates actually come out, and that would be impressive. We did already get the curved Thunderbolt monitor.
We did,
right? So I'm hoping we see a bunch of really good monitors, because my plan before I buy a high-end GPU, or maybe right after, is to buy a high-end HDR monitor for doing editing and whatnot on, and gaming on. And it's my financial situation right around that time of when they would probably release sometime in the summer is perfect for that. Yeah. So I'm hoping we see some announcements now of when they'll actually come out, because they were supposed to come out last year, and they didn't. So I think that's pretty much all we have, though, right?
Yes.
So that's all of our tech news today, but for those that follow the channel closely...
One other thing I forgot. There was some new news about the Dell XPS 13.
Oh, okay.
It's essentially what we expected. It's design-wise, it is different. Finally.
Okay, yeah.
they've supposedly got
I want this.
Yeah, they've supposedly got like another 20% of of the bezel removed.
Screen to body ratio.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So they're making that even better.
Ooh.
However, there are some downsides. No full-sized SD card slot, only micro. At least there's micro. I would prefer full-size SD.
Yeah, I would really, because I mean, because it's like right at this time when it's like, oh, now you can edit on these ultrabooks because quad core, no SD.
But we're also starting to see some high-ish end cameras use micro.
That's true. I think mid-range cameras might move to it. Yeah.
And then no full-size USB ports. It includes 3 USB C.
As long as it has multiples, like, eventually that's the direction we want to go. I just felt like it was done too early by a lot of companies.
Yeah.
2018 is not a bad year to switch over.
My other question is, and I would assume that it does, but the article that I found for it doesn't specify Thunderbolt.
Oh, it will, because it already does.
Yes.
The XPS 13 already does.
I know, but the article didn't mention it. I'm just specifying that I'm not
sure at least one port will support Thunderbolt. Like, I would be really surprised if it didn't, because the XPS was actually one of the systems that worked really well with eGPU docks. So that's exciting, because I actually come from owning an XPS 13. Loved it. It's my brother's now. Works great for him for school. But if I buy an Ultrabook again, it's either something from Lenovo or Dell, from what I've seen so far. So we'll see what happens in CES this year.
Oh, okay. Found a different one. So it has 2 Thunderbolt 3s and 1 regular USB 3.1. Generation does not specify, but a 3.1 port.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
all right. Well, last thing I wanted to say before we close up, we're actually running a few minutes late here, but those that follow the channel fairly consistently, and maybe those that are new to the channel and want to start following more consistently, rewind this video back to like the very beginning. Because the first thing we talked about here was obviously Happy New Year and what the plans for the business, as well as my personal stuff and like Project Monochrome, my PC build that I'm doing, what the plans are and what the future looks ahead. Or what the future looks ahead. Why did I say what is coming up in the future for the business of WordTech? A lot of really cool stuff. So I'd highly encourage anybody that's interested in it going back to the beginning of the video and listening to that segment there. It was probably the first 10-ish minutes.
Yeah.
But just check out what I have to say there, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going to be happening. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Hopefully my actual recording of this on my hard drive didn't get all messed up this time, so that you guys can see a posting of this on SoundCloud, which there will be a WordTech SoundCloud that will exist, assuming this works, with just the audio version that you can download. So if you're in a place where maybe you can't watch our podcast as much because you can't use data or whatever, you can download it on your mobile device or whatever to listen to it. Should be the day after every time, again assuming I don't have issues with my hard drive again. But thank you everybody for watching, and I should have a video out Friday if not Monday, and things consistent from there for the rest of the year. So any last words, Daniel?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because you're never gonna see him again.
Yeah.
No last words?
5 words.
Alright.